Hi, friends. If you enjoyed the book My Penguin Osbert, you're going to love today's book because it's another story about that same character. And it is called My Penguin Osbert in Love. And it's by Elizabeth Cody Kimmel, who's the author. And it's illustrated by H.B. Buck Lewis. So this is a perfect Valentine's book. I had just put away my new helicopter and was cleaning out my ant farm when I heard a knock. And if you remember, if you read the other story, he had hoped to get a helicopter for Christmas. So it sounds like he got one, but I'm not sure yet. Is it small or is it like a life-size one he can actually fly? What do you think? Why don't you predict? What do you think? So he heard a knock at the door. I thought it might be the mailman with my package. I had ordered a new wing for the ant farm. So I ran downstairs and opened the door. Right in the middle of the welcome mat, I saw a familiar face. It was my penguin, Osbert. Santa gave me Osbert for Christmas last year, and Osbert had been living at the zoo. Apparently, Osbert had brought along a few friends. There they are. Can you see them in the bushes? His friends, all the little penguin heads. What do you predict he wants? What do you think Osbert wants? Do you think he wants to move back in with the little boy? What do you think? I wanted to ask them all in, but I didn't want my mom to see them. She might not be happy that Osbert had staged a zoo break. That makes me think of Madagascar, if you've ever seen that movie. Plus, she worries a lot about her carpets, so we snuck upstairs to my room. There they're going. They're going up the stairs. Mom didn't even see it. My mom is right there. Do you see her? She's right there, but she's on her, looks like she's on her computer, so she's distracted. Osbert had an invitation tucked under his wing. When I opened it up, all the penguins gathered around and sighed. Once in a century, South Pole extravaganza. Extravaganza is like a big party. Please join us on February 14th, that's Valentine's Day, for the Centennial Gathering to witness the Southern Lights. Be there with your friends at Antarctica Sky as Antarctica Sky explodes in a dazzling display that only Mother Nature can provide. Yours sincerely, Aurora Australis. Black tie requested. No RSVP necessary. So they don't have to say they're coming, but they're invited to come and see the lights. They have really neat lights that happen there. And maybe a lot of you know that there's penguins that live in Antarctica, and it is such a super duper cold place. Antarctica is not a place where a bunch of people live, but penguins are very hardy and they can live there. But penguins actually live all over the world, even in some warm places. When I put the invitation down, 22 pairs of penguin eyes were watching me. My relatives were coming in from all over the country that day for my mom's midwinter bash. I had to be there, but Osbert wanted me to help him get to the South Pole. And Osbert was my friend. We checked the globe. From my house to Antarctica, it looked like a pretty straight shot due south. Now everyone knows penguins can't fly. So there they are. They're looking at the globe to see where it is. Do you think it's really super close? No, it's not super close. But this is a fiction story, so maybe it won't take them long to get there. We'll see. How do you think they're going to get there? But I can. So it says, I can't. Penguins can't fly. But it says, but I can. This year, Santa gave me my very own helicopter. Friends, it's a real helicopter. It's not a toy helicopter. See that? Can you believe that? Last year he gave him a penguin. Now he gave him a helicopter. He must have been a really good boy. I left my mom a note. Mom, I'm taking the helicopter out for a little spin. Don't worry, I packed my warm red sweater. Love, Joe. P.S. I promise I will be not late for the bash. bash is another word for a party. I had a little trouble getting everybody into their seatbelts, but we managed to take off before noon. There they are. Can you see all the little penguin faces in the helicopter? I think it should take a long time to get there, but like I said, this is a fiction story. Make believe. We'd been flying south for a really long time when Osbert nudged me with his wing. I picked a quiet-looking spot and landed the helicopter. When we all gotten out, a man in a flowered shirt came over and offered us drinks. Apparently, we had not flown far enough south. It was way past lunchtime, and the penguins were taking a bathroom break. I didn't know how we'd ever get there in time, but Osbert was my friend, and he wanted me to help him get to the South Pole. So look at that. They do not look like they're at Antarctica, do they? There's no snow there. I like the idea of the penguins using a porta potty. We'd been flying south for a really, really long time when Osbert poked me with his beak. I looked down and saw snow-capped mountains. I found a nice flat spot and I landed the helicopter. When we'd all gotten out, a little girl selling t-shirts came over to us. Apparently, we had still not flown far enough south. Everyone was really friendly, but it was getting dark, and in my wildest dreams, I couldn't imagine how we were ever going to get there in time. But Osbert was my friend. Osbert couldn't fly, and he wanted me to help him get to the South Pole. So remember, he is really good about taking care of his pet. There it is. I always think this little girl looks like Boo from Monsters, Inc., if you've ever seen that. So he's good about taking care of Osbert. We'd been flying south for a really, really, really long time when Osbert prodded me with his foot. I looked down. At first, I thought we were flying through a giant cloud, but then I realized it was snow. Snow everywhere. The South Pole. Oh, wow. They finally made it. Look at that. That does not look like the other places they stopped at all. In every direction, for as far as I could see, there were penguins on the ice. Some of them were watching the sky, their heads tilted back. One or two of them helped wave us in. I landed very carefully. Look at all those penguins. Do you know that they live, like thousands and thousands of them live together in Antarctica? Fortunately, Osbert and the penguins were already wearing their party clothes, right? Penguins look like they're already wearing like a suit, like a tuxedo, because they have black and white. I put on a black tie over my warm red sweater, and we all jumped out. Wow, the Southern Lights were even better than the invitation had said. We didn't have anything like this back home. It was way better than any sunset or fireworks show, and it's a natural thing that happens, friends. But when I turned to tell Osbert how great it was, he wasn't looking at the lights. So look at the lights. This is something that happens there in nature. It's not something that someone does like a fireworks show. Of course, sunsets from nature too. Osbert was staring at a penguin who had waddled out of the crowd. It was Aurora Australis. Remember, she's the one that sent the invitation. Osbert's beak dropped open a little and his eyes got huge. He wiggled his flippers and sucked in his stomach. Osbert was my friend. Osbert couldn't fly. He had wanted me to help him get to the South Pole, and I had done it. But Osbert didn't want to look at the Southern Lights now. He was looking at Aurora Australis, and she looked back at him. They stared into each other's penguin eyes. Osbert was in love. There he is. See all the hearts for Valentine's Day. I wonder what's going to happen. My toes were getting cold, and my stomach was starting to growl. I was ready to head home, but before I could say anything, Osbert and Aurora started a game of flipper ball. Wow, that sounds fun. You're using their flippers to hit snowballs. I waited patiently, but a little icicle started to form on my black tie. When Aurora started to belly slide on an iceberg, Osbert jumped right in to race her. When they couldn't decide who had won, Osbert suggested a do-over. I reminded Osbert that I had to be home in time for my mom's party, but he gave me a just a minute flipper. He and Aurora started making a giant snow penguin. Meanwhile, another icicle formed right next to the first one, and my red sweater had frozen stiff. I knew that if I didn't leave right now, I would be late for the midwinter bash. Okay, so here's some little pictures. There they are playing flipper ball. Notice how the author made it look like a heart around them. And then here they're doing the racing on their bellies. And we learned that penguins do like to slide on their bellies because they can't walk very fast. They waddle. So they sliding on their bellies, they get places quicker. As if all this were bad enough, I realized I need a bathroom break. But back on the ice, Osbert and Aurora were making a second snow penguin to keep the first one company. I called out to Osbert, but he didn't even hear me. I had to find my way to the polar restroom facilities all alone in the dark. It looks like an igloo. Like the bathroom's an igloo. I don't think you'd really find that, though, in Antarctica. I walked back to the helicopter, hanging my head. Now it was snowing, and I couldn't see Osbert anywhere. But Osbert was Aurora's friend now, and I had to go. Poor Joe. There was no time for a final goodbye. I tried to get into the helicopter, but there was something in my way. Friends, you want to predict? What do you think is in his way? What could be there? Let's find out. What could be there? The helicopter was full of penguins, including Osbert and Aurora. I threw my arms around Osbert. Aurora patted my head with her flipper, so I gave her a little hug too. She smelled like seaweed, but in a nice way. I asked Osbert if he was absolutely sure they wanted to come back north with me. He nodded, and all the other penguins did too. Aw, isn't that good? So happy to see each other. He didn't want to leave him behind. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure that the other penguins in the helicopter were the same ones we'd started with, but Osbert was definitely the same old Osbert. Osbert and Aurora were both my friends. They were both coming, and I was going to fly us all home. With any luck, we'd even make it to the midwinter bash. On the last leg of the trip, I let Osbert take the controls. Ooh, Osbert's getting to fly. Here's a picture of Joe flying them all. He's going to let Osbert take control. It turns out penguins can fly really well. Right in a helicopter. And that is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed my Penguin Osbert in Love. See you soon.